The Wario Land series is one of the most awesome, weirdest, most unique, most influential series of games ever made. You control Wario, a protagonist who has stuff happen to him, and all this stuff that happens to him become the transformations that allow him to get through each level. The series went on to influence indie games like Pizza Tower and Anton Blast. The series began right where the Super Mario Land series of games would end, with Wario becoming the focus after he loses his castle to Mario and having to gather money to get his own. It wasn't until Wario Land II that this series truly diverged from its original spin-off game into its own thing, after which we got Wario Land III. Just a quick heads up, this video contains some spoilers for Wario Land 2 and 3, so viewers' discretion is advised. In Wario Land 2 and 3, Wario is invincible and he can't be killed, but he can still take damage and lose money instead of health. And of course, some things in the game still affect him that give him the strange abilities he needs to proceed. In both games, you collect money and treasures to progress. And boss battles are unique in that losing means getting sent upwards or sometimes downwards and having to come back to where the boss is to try again. Now, Wario Land 3 was released for the Nintendo Switch Online on February 8th, 2023, but Wario Land 2 was not, at least not as of this video's release. Why is this? Why hasn't Wario Land 2 been released on the Switch yet? Or if you're watching this video in the future and Wario Land 2 has been released on the Switch, why was Wario Land 3 released first? Alright, so I played both of these games, and it's not hard for me to understand why Wario Land 3 came out first. The simplest answer is that Wario Land 3 is just better. Wario Land 3 feels much more colorful and more user-friendly than Wario Land 2. It has a more vibrant feel, a simpler story setup, a world map, and a day and night system. It even sold better. Even though it's more obtuse than its predecessor in terms of mechanics and progress, it's still easier for the player to figure out what they have to do. The player will be frustrated by things they can't initially do, and that will motivate them to come back later when they get what they need to do these things, like reaching a previously inaccessible area or getting a previously unobtainable item. Some levels are even affected by the day and night system in place, and it makes them think hard about what they need to do to solve whatever puzzle they need to solve. Some of Wario's abilities are also locked, and you need to progress through the game to unlock them, after which the game will teach you about them and how to use them. The final boss of Wario Land 3 is also very interesting because it's also the only time in the entire game you can actually die and get a game over. Then you have Wario Land 2, which came before. The story of Wario Land 2 is set after the events of the first game, which as of this video isn't on the Switch either. I did not have as much fun with Wario Land 2 as I did with Wario Land 3. In this game, the Black Sugar Gang, led by Captain Syrup, invade Wario's castle to get revenge after what happened in the first game, and he has to go after them and take back his treasure, and his castle depending on which way the game goes, and that's just it. The game's sequence of levels and chapters are not entirely linear. There's branching paths that lead to other levels as well as different endings. In Wario Land 3, opening a chest of a certain color for a level allows you to continue, but in Wario Land 2, you have to collect as much money as you can, find the treasure, and pay money in these minigames for a chance to win the treasure. Everything you do to try to make this easier costs more money. The game makes you go out of your way to constantly check every dead end, nook, and cranny to find as much money as you possibly need to beat all of these minigames, get all of the treasures and all of the map pieces. This even includes breaking through breakable walls that look exactly like unbreakable walls. And knowing which ones are breakable and which ones are not is impossible without trying to break them yourself or without a guide, especially even a map of the level. Even Wario Land 3 had this with the Sea Turtle Rocks level. Now I'd like to talk about the quickest way to beat the game's alternate second chapter where Wario doesn't wake up. It's very interesting. The game actually manages to cram an entire game's worth of content into these 5 short levels. Wario needs every transformation he has to beat them. And the difficulty of these levels even reflects the fact that they are the only 5 levels you need to reach just one of the game's endings. 5 short levels with an entire game's worth of content crammed into them and you're done. In Wario Land 3, Wario has several abilities that you unlock as you play. But in Wario Land 2, Wario already has most of these abilities already available. It feels strange to have these abilities in one game and then suddenly have to unlock them all again in the next. That's like doing a full playthrough of Banjo-Tooie and then doing a full playthrough of Banjo-Kazooie. In Wario Land 2, you have to reach the end of the game several times across several different branching paths to 100% the game. That means getting every single treasure and map piece along the way. And once you finally do this, you get to play the game's insane final level, which is as difficult as it is strange. It is the Champion's Road, the Grandmaster Galaxy of this game. It is supposed to be Captain Syrup's hideout, but we never imagined their hideout looking like this. It's a very hard level that challenges the player and puts everything they know about this game to the test. It even manages to make the game's easiest boss, a mini boss really, a big spearman, into something truly frustrating that only the best Wario Land 2 players can beat. Another reason Nintendo is holding off on Wario Land 2 could be because they're trying to decide whether to use the regular Game Boy palette or the more vibrant colors for Game Boy Color. Wario Land 2 was a fun game, but there were times when it was a chore to do. Wario Land 3 is no different sometimes, but at least with Wario Land 3, I felt like I was having a lot more fun with the game, progressing and unlocking as much as I could until I was done. I feel like Nintendo did the right thing releasing this game first. Players will have much more fun with Wario Land 3, and I feel like Wario Land 3 will better prepare them for Wario Land 2. It helps that the storylines of these games are independent of each other, so you can play one or the other first and you'd miss nothing. I had way more fun 100%ing Wario Land 3 than I did Wario Land 2. But I'd still like Wario Land 2 to be on the Switch with Wario Land 3, along with its predecessor, the first game in the series that takes after Mario Land. But if you're watching this video in the future, then perhaps it already has. But in the meantime, we can now enjoy Wario Land 4 for Game Boy Advance, which, as of this video's release, just recently came out on the Switch. Yay! For more videos like this, keep watching. Be sure to subscribe, and if you want access to exclusive stuff, become a Patreon member today. Thank you for watching this video, and happy gaming!